Great. So I want to welcome Morgyn, Danae to the podcast today. It's so lovely to connect with you and to have you here on the podcast. Thank you so much for being here with me.
Thank you for having me here, Charlene. I'm very happy to be here with you.
Yes. So we actually connected through a mutual, I guess, podcaster, a fellow podcaster of mine, and you were just on her show, Des DaCosta's show,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm so grateful that she connected us because I think that when we first had a little chat, a quick little meeting, it just felt right. It felt like we were really aligned, and your messaging is so aligned with my podcast, and I just knew that I had to have you on, and I wanted to be able to give you this platform to share your experiences and share your stories. So I'm so happy that we connected.
Thank you so much for, welcoming me and inviting me and giving me this opportunity. And, I was really also just so happy to meet you and to find out the work you're doing and,
Mm.
listen to your podcast. And, you know, it's a real pleasure, and it's always a gift to meet a kindred spirit.
I love that. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you. I really appreciate that you've been listening to the podcast as well. It's always so lovely when someone tells me that. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I always ask the first question. I always ask my guests the same first question. And that is, how have you shown your self compassion today?
Okay, wonderful question. Great question to ask every day, huh?
I think so.
Yeah. So I would say showing my self compassion today has shown up in giving myself space at certain points in I'm very, I think I mentioned this too, really strongly believe in the power of giving ourselves space and time for transition,
Mm,
in our lives and in our days, they can be so full. And especially on an entrepreneur's life path, there's so many demands, and yes, and we're creative and we want to do all of these things and we're
yes.
excited, and there's the hard stuff and the stuff we don't want to do, and then the stuff we're really into. And so, there's a lot to prioritize and show up for, um, but it's also important not to just go nonstop, um, in a kind of frenzied way,
Mm-hmm.
focus way. So I would say, today, just recognizing, yes, it's a full day. There are a lot of things, because I really want to be present for anything that is happening in an interaction or an event or a client that I'm working with, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel the compassion comes in, or came in as well, in just saying, okay, you're going to take this time. This is a space. We're prioritizing that. You know, Having compassion that I am doing the best that I can,
Mm.
and that my intentions are good. You know, and that I'm learning as well, and that I also need to give myself this time for just to be still, for this breath. And literally, that's just, can be a few minutes. And in that case, it was a few minutes, and just feeling the nourishment of that.
Mm.
Um, there's so much value in being active and dynamic and all of that. And then having that balance to say, yeah, but I'm not a machine. And
Mm.
everybody has their own way, and their own way that their energies move as well, and what works for them and what doesn't work for them. And
Mm-hmm.
for me, that's a really necessary part of my overall wellness, as well as being able to show up and, contribute anything of quality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so important, so important. That's beautiful. I think it's a great reminder, and it's very much a common theme that comes up when I chat with my guests is having having that connection to yourself, giving yourself that space, giving yourself that compassion. I love what you said about I'm still learning. That
Mhm.
is major. That is so major, especially as creatives, right? I think sometimes once we kind of get into the flow of our work and into the process, it's like, okay, this is what I do, this is who I am, this is what I do, and it's kind of like go go go. And sometimes it's really easy to forget about the play aspect, the learning
Mhm.
aspect,
Mhm.
the beginner mindset, I think. So I love that you give yourself that space to continue to learn, because that's how we grow, right? And I think that
Mhm.
that's how creativity has the opportunity to then play and expand and morph into something new and something beautiful. So I think that's really, really important to remember. So thank you for sharing that.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
So we have a very, very similar background in that we both come from a dance background. You are a dancer, and this has now manifested as sort of like dance therapy, and you use movement, creative movement, with your clients as as a means of therapy. And I just think that that is so cool, because it's very much a new concept to me. Like, you hear the phrase like, "Oh, dance is my church. Dance is my therapy." Like I've heard that so many times throughout my training, throughout my career. And I it resonates with me, and it I connect to it because there is a sense of euphoria, and especially when you're in a performance and you've trained, you've worked, you've put in all of the time and all of the effort to creating and going through that process. And then when you finally get to perform, there is that sense of euphoria. So I completely connect to that. But I've never really kind of thought of it as an actual modality of therapy, of you know using it for recovery, using it to recover from trauma. So I'm
Mhm.
so fascinated by your work, and I would love if you could just share, what is it that I suppose I have two questions. Like, how did you transition from your dancing, from that performer side of it? How did you then kind of transition into using this as dance therapy, as something where you could use it to help your clients recover from trauma, or kind of tap into that a little bit more?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Great question. Yes. So, of course, first and foremost, it's the love of dance, right?
Hmm.
It's the need to dance. That's the calling, right? That dimension of dance. It's a dimension. So for me, um, it really it was congruent. There wasn't really a lot of separation. Um, for me, I always loved to dance. Dance was always a lifeline for me. It was always just something that I needed to do. And it wasn't even as much for me growing up. It wasn't about a particular structure or needing to perform or anything,
Mm.
that was woven in there,
Hmm.
but it was just the need to dance, and the joy of it. And so actually I really started, it was concurrent with my own healing process. Um, and I've used the phrase, kind of having a wounded healer's path, so to speak,
Hmm.
concurrently healing the self and support, learning and studying and learning to support others to heal.
Hmm.
So I kind of had a major wake up call and awakening, kind of that place where you hit the wall and you can't, you're going to fall hard. Like,
Mm.
you don't even know what that looks like. You don't want to know what it looks like if you
Hmm.
don't take this need to heal seriously. So that was my call in my mid 20s. early mid-20s. And so I started doing actively working on healing my body. My body was manifesting trauma myself from abuse and trauma, childhood. And so, but then I started focusing on working with a spiritual healer to help me to learn to love myself and heal.
Mm.
And so that was where the learning about how the body manifests our wounded heart, but at the same time, as I was unfolding to find my spirit, my calling, I was called to start to perform, but at the same time, I was called to teach.
Mm.
And I didn't use the term therapy. I
Mm-hmm.
just used the term dance as a healing art.
Mm.
So that was in the 90s. That was like in, I don't know, 97, something like that, 90,
Okay.
98, somewhere around there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
500 years ago.
Eons ago.
Whatever that was. But there have been many twists and turns since then. So that was the calling point there. I was also studying body work at the time as well. I mean, I still do, I'm
Right.
also that's a part of my repertoire.
Mm-hmm.
But I was focusing on learning breath work and guided visualization, prayer work. I mean, I'd always prayed, but really doing this in focused space for healing and working with the belly, healing the internal organs, working with belly massage. And so it all kind of came together at the same place.
Right.
And at 28, I kind of had this vision that, I was going to be working with dance as a healing art and supporting in this feminine way. And I was doing a lot with belly dance, that was but there were so many forms of dance, and it's all about the hips for me.
Love that.
But then it was about supporting the center, supporting our centers to heal as well, and being very connected in with spirit, in with love, and in with connecting with the earth, because we go to her, she centers us as well. So it all kind of came together in this, we have the beautiful vision, and then there were just many years of twists and turns and falls and getting back
up. Of course, yes. That's beautiful. That's really, really
kind
beautiful.
of a mouthful to start how it kind of all started. Wow.
Yeah. And I think, it's cool. It's cool to be able to reflect on that too. I'm sure to, know that there's been that path and there's been that journey, and along the ride, like most journeys, there's going to be those twists and turns, which I think just allows us to once again grow and just go a little bit deeper too, I'm sure. So thank you so much for sharing that. And to be honest, it really, really resonates with me. This past year has been one of the first times that I've actually really tapped into my own body sending me signals. And it's the first time that I've actually made that connection to previous trauma. And for whatever reason, it just never really clicked for me. And this past year, I don't know if it had anything to do with me just having a little bit more stillness, having a little bit more space, having a little bit of more time to really listen, that it finally came through to me as, oh wait, my body is trying to tell me something. It is really, really trying to send me these signals. And so it's so lovely to hear you say that as well, and to hear that was part of your journey, because, sometimes when you have those realizations, it's like, am I just being cuckoo? Like, am I just, is that actually a thing? But I think, but
yeah, right.
But I think it's so important to be able to tune into those moments and into those signals. So I think it's such beautiful work that you're doing. And you mentioned working with the center, and I know that's something that you say is own your center. So what does that mean? And Why is it so important for us to tap into our centers, understand what that means, and why is the center so important? Like, how does it then affect the rest of our body? How does it affect the rest of the way we kind of move through life?
Yes. Okay. Ah, yes. Oh, as you were asking that, it just was layers kept opening,
Mm-hmm.
layers and layers.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to start kind of and move with the layers. So our center, we think about that center getting centered, right? That center is like the middle way. So not going too far one way, not going too far the other, but finding our balance, centering ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So in one way, it's an energetic space of being centered, right? In our
Mm-hmm.
within ourselves, in the moment, being present in the moment. There's centering where we're centered in our breath, and our breath comes from our bellies, right? It comes from our belly, our core, our lungs. That's our center.
Mm-hmm.
So we're often cut off, we learn to cut off from that center in our breath, which is life.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a coping mechanism we learn very young to, and it's happening younger and younger in modern society. So to claim our breath is to claim our center back as well. And what happens in that is that we start to work with our center, our digestion, our internal organs are being worked, our musculature is being worked.
Mm-hmm.
These are ways that support us to digest our emotions, digest our food, our nutrients. So, our inner wisdom also, listen to your gut, right?
Mm-hmm.
We think about the kind of the spirit of life is the breath. And when we're keeping ourselves kind of outside of that, we're not moving into that center of life force.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a physical manifestation as well. The center of the earth. We are tied to the earth as our mother is a grounding cord. It's like an umbilical cord. She is our sustaining life force. And so we can move from our centers and send our grounding cords down into the center core of Mother Earth in that way as well. And so these are all ways that, we've kind of disconnected from that in modern society. And, I'm athletic. I like to move. I love to move,
Right.
the dynamism is fantastic, but when it's over, it's too much. It's imbalanced into a toxic place, because we have a toxic masculine, right? Which is a distorted, it's overdrive. But we
Okay.
also have a toxic feminine or a distorted, wounded feminine that
Mm-hmm.
is just a doormat. So we're finding our balance, and a lot of coming back to that feminine, divine feminine is allowing the slowing down so
Right.
that the masculine can also rest and heal, you know so that all
Mm-hmm.
of us, and we're not overdoing the feminine, trying to overtake care of everybody and neglect the self. So we come
Right.
back to center. We come back to the center balancing place.
Mm-hmm.
And in our centers, physically too, that's our center of movement. We move out. And when we're just objectifying our bodies, our centers, our cores, I mean, yeah, have a six pack if you want. Great, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
But, that if we've diminished our centers, our bellies, our cores down to this kind of very superficial and self-abusive kind of objectified perspective. And I was introduced to that so much through seeing how we've been taught to revile our bellies, and then people can do whatever they want, really. I'm busy with my life. I really don't have the focus where I'm out judging other people and what they choose.
Mm-hmm.
Really do what you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's your sovereign choice. It's your body, it's your life.
Mm-hmm.
um, but when I'm working with people and hearing stories over so many years of the distress and the deep pain, because of the self-loathing, of the different really severe physical issues as well that are
Mm,
manifestations. They can be manifestations of emotional trauma. They can be manifestations of physical trauma.
right.
And not just trauma, but just injury,
Mm-hmm.
imbalance, all of these things that are just not loving, that are
Right.
part that come up in life. And so claiming that, and this is a very sensitive place where and men are very sensitive too, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and where they've been cut off, numb,
Right.
we've been cut off, numb too, you know?
Right. Yeah.
So coming back to this, and I can't really explain why. I was just born to be drawn to this. It's like
Mm-hmm.
it's just always been there, and it's just a thing. It's
Yeah.
just a thing.
Yeah.
And if you look at like little children, little babies' bellies, they're just like these bellies,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and they're just full of life and so basically all this distress that gets kind of heaped on this part of our
Right.
bodies and into our hips, into our pelvis, where we hold pain, our pelvic floors, the tightness and the stiffness, because I work with these physical manifestations as well, that's
Mm-hmm.
therapeutic also. But that's in women and men.
Right.
And that can also be, oppression, repression, um, you know, and it can also be, I'm kind of going back and forth because we're looking at
Yeah.
the extremes, like
Yeah.
over sexualization,
Okay.
There are men, men are so taught to be just hyper,
Mm.
stimulated. And then
Mm.
the females are supposed to be super stimulating them in society these days and all of this.
Right.
It's like, well, okay, let's like let go of some of this stuff because is it really real? Like,
Right.
let's get to what's a real organic way the energy flows, life force energy, sexuality
Mm.
energy, creative, because it's all together, and these
Mm-hmm.
are things that I've been taught as well and
Mm-hmm.
observed and such. And so we look at also the chakras, right? The
Right.
chakras, the creative, the sacral chakra, our creative,
Yes.
chakra, creative center, our root chakra, our grounding cord at the base of our spine, our survival issues, and then we'll skip on up to the
Mm-hmm.
solar plexus, right? The
Mm-hmm.
third chakra, our personal will, our sense of self in the world,
Mm.
our dynamism. So, of course, we have the other chakras too, and we want to connect into our hearts and our spirits in that. But there's a lot going on. There's a
Right.
lot going on.
Yes.
And to reduce ourselves or our bodies down to these kind of superficial objects, well,
Mm.
you can do that. Again, do what you want to do. But,
Mm-hmm.
if you want to come this way, you might discover some amazing stuff,
Right.
you know.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. I know. It's
So
a lot.
much.
It's a lot to
So
digest.
it is. It is a lot to digest. I
This is
love
welcome to
that.
my world. These are the things that are going on in my inner
It's
workings.
I love that though. I think it's like I mean, I have so much to think about right now, but and what really resonates for me is and I'm sure there's a lot of dancers out there
Mhm.
that was how we were trained, and
Mhm.
I have this conversation a lot
Mhm.
a lot lately as well. And obviously, as I grow as an educator, as a mentor, especially to young girls, this is
Mhm.
something that really comes up a lot. It's come up for me, in yoga teacher trainings, just this idea of yeah, like what's kind of been ingrained into what your body should look like, what it
Mhm.
should be in order to be a dancer, in
Mhm.
order to, uh, do your asana on your mat. Like there's just been so many mixed messages and so many different signals that are like embedded
Mhm.
into me, because of just my training, because of how I grew up, like because of what we were taught as young dancers. And so
Mhm.
it's something that I personally am working on and am personally trying to be a little bit more kind to myself, be a little bit more gentle on myself, because the last thing I want to do is pass that on to my young dancers.
Mhm.
And, I want them to know that they're beautiful, that they don't have to look a certain way, that they don't have to look at themselves in the mirror and think negatively, because again, that's something that I'm still working on as well. So I think it's such a powerful reminder that, we're not machines,
Mhm.
and that visual of a little baby belly is just like,
Mhm.
I have a little baby niece. She's about 10 months old, and it's my favorite thing to see is her little
Mhm.
baby belly, and just, the joy, and like, it's like, she doesn't care. Like, why can't we just go back to that type of mentality? So, and in just the way that you speak to yourself, and just the way that you're sending yourself those messages, so powerful. Thank you so much, and thank you for the work that you're doing. Thank you for continuing to share that message, because, like you said, we've been trained, we've been given these signals, and it's really about working to break those down, right? And being able to give ourselves that love and give ourselves that compassion. So,
Mhm.
so
Yeah.
powerful.
Yeah, but I mean, I look at it as to our organic origins, and how are we designed by nature? And I mean, it's the ebb and the flow of the breath, it's the in and the
Mm.
out. And we can have toned, strong cores. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm all about that. I mean, again, do whatever you want. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's being healthy from the inside out so that you feel, you're comfortable in your body from within. You feel the joy in your movement. You feel the
Mm.
joy in being in this body, this soul in this body. And so it's not being in that constricted, tight breath that doesn't allow for the way we were designed to breathe,
Mm.
which actually tones.
Mm-hmm.
Because even diastasis recti, have you ever heard of that? That's a common core dysfunction for men and
Huh.
women,
Okay.
often known to be just a postpartum condition or a prenatal condition. And really, it shows up in many walks of life, men and women, and it can show up very much in gymnasts and dancers, athletes,
Uh-huh.
where it's too much tightness in the belly. It's too much pressure from the inside.
Got it.
So that's hurting the internal organs, the pelvic floor, the spine, all kinds of
Mm.
things.
Mm.
And energetically, right? All the chakras. So it's the balance. It's the balance. And yes, like you're saying, coming back to that freedom,
Mm.
or yeah, the playfulness, the
Mm-hmm.
because really, what is dance? Dance originally was not a way to control our bodies. Where did that come from? Like,
Hmm.
really? Like, sure, be disciplined if that's what you're doing,
Right.
like, there's something incredible about discipline and focus and all of those magical things that happen with that.
Mm-hmm.
But the abuse and
Mm.
the self-hatred and the competition, well, that's not where did that, why?
Right.
You know, Dance is organically an expression of the soul. It comes from natural trance states.
Mm.
It's a medicine. It's
Mm.
medicine. And
Mm-hmm.
performance is storytelling and expression and community and communal and tribal. And I mean, I have to say, I'm grateful that really my mom, first generation American from my mom, she's not a typical British woman.
Mm.
I was raised with the ancient Celtic, with the ancient pagan roots of connecting into magic, and
Right.
and that's in ourselves too. It's in all of ourselves
Mm-hmm.
as humans. We go
Mm-hmm.
back to our origins, right? Our original medicine on this planet is children of the earth, children of the creator. Here I am
Mm.
getting, but but taking it back to foundation. So keeping it simple.
Mm-hmm.
So embodying your own healing and that incredible awareness and kindness that
Mm.
you're speaking from, and compassion, and then consciously wanting to be aware of what you pass on,
Mm.
this legacy of teaching and mentoring, and embodying the healing and bridging from the old kind of paradigm that is not love based.
Right.
That's so beautiful. That's so, I mean,
Mm.
it gives me a lot of joy to hear that. And
Oh.
again, I salute you, you know,
Oh,
for
thank
that.
you. Thank you. Well, I just got goosebumps hearing you talk about that. Like it's yeah, it is. It's really it's so important. It's such an important message. So thank you. Thank you for your work and for bringing more awareness to that. Um so you talk about like the divine feminine and your work through divine feminine therapies. So just for anyone that is out there that might not necessarily kind of know what those are,
Mhm.
um, what what are these divine feminine therapies? How can we tap into them in our own lives? And is it just like for, the female, the femme identifying, or as you were saying, it's like, the masculine needs to come in, the men need to tap into this. So can you just kind of take me through what all of that is?
Yes. Deep breath too. Wow.
Hmm.
Amazing question. Ooh.
I go
All
deep.
right. Yeah, I
I
love it. I
I just
love
jump right
deep.
in.
I love it. That's my challenge with navigating social media, because I like to just stay really in deep places. And it's like, well, how do I bridge this in 10 seconds
It's
or in
work.
two
It's
sentences, you
yeah.
know?
That's an art in itself. That's
Yes,
for
it is an
sure.
art. It is. It's
Mhm.
a skill for
Mhm.
sure. It
Yeah.
is. And to convey that in a real way, you know, and it's delightful to witness too. I'm
Mhm.
learning that
Mhm.
too. So okay, so that's a kind of a term that just came to me, divine feminine therapies, and I'm sure it's been used many times too, but you know, it's
Mm.
just kind of came to me to kind of describe what I'm approaching, how I'm approaching things.
Mhm.
So, first, two things I'll say: divine, divinity, our sacredness, holiness, the fact that we are creations of a divine creator, you know,
Mm.
and whatever word you use, whatever source, whatever greater power, higher power that resonates with you, you know, and that, you know, we're made of love, we come from love, you know, so
Mhm.
we're divine, we're all divine. It doesn't mean there aren't distortions, there isn't all kinds of injury and abuse and different things that are just not right that we humans are playing out. You know, that's the
Mm.
injury. But recognizing that we are ultimately, we have a divinity, we are divine. You know,
Mhm.
we are humans. And, you know, you've heard that term. We're souls on a
Yeah.
human journey, right? In that
Mhm.
way. So the divinity, the divine, and then the feminine. Yes, the feminine again. That energy. Men, we have masculine and feminine within us. So it's not. Yeah, I mean, I do work more intimately with the female body.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
for me, that's what, but
Mhm.
yes, the divine feminine is in all of us, just as the divine masculine is. And we need the divine masculine. That's a whole other conversation. But, you
Mhm.
know, just to say, yes, it's all
Yeah.
needed. And so, yes, so basically, and, you know, I mean, if somebody defines themselves as feminine or femme, and they resonate with that energy in their embodiment, yes, you know, be yourself. Just be yourself.
Mhm.
You know, you're
Mhm.
beautiful. You're amazing. Whoever you are, however you define yourself, you are divine and
Mhm.
a blessing and a gift. You know, and so recognizing the divine and then the feminine, so we're talking about that healed, you know, feminine expression, and we're all children of that again.
Mhm.
So now for me, with the kind of approach that I take, the therapies that I work with, is the dance movement. It's all very body positive, as in the positive support of loving our bodies. And I also support being healthy and being in touch with your body and doing that in a way that feels self-loving. So I come from that approach. I work with the dance, with the fitness, with the breath work, with the
Mm-hmm.
body work,
Mm-hmm.
um, and so I have, the programs that I have created to work with, based on my studies and passions, which are
Mm-hmm.
working with the dance, working with core, and kind of a double entendre, core recovery to strength. So we're talking
Mm-hmm.
again the center core self and that
Right.
centering and core, but also the actual core,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
but not coming from, again, that kind of more surface place, which is great too,
Right. Mm-hmm.
but I work with all these levels.
Yeah.
So that's a process.
Mm-hmm.
And also working with somatic recovery. So
Right.
we can be addressing trauma. We can be simply addressing, also working with your story, working with learning how to tap into that wisdom in your body. And it's your
Mm-hmm.
wisdom, so creating that bridge with yourself and your body, with your
Mm-hmm.
heart. And so that, can be can look different ways, different programs that create different, whether it's one-on-one sessions, we're
Mm-hmm.
addressing different issues, or workshops, um, but it's a great question too, asking about men. Now, I've worked with men, I mean, always. I mean, I've been doing. So I'm almost 53. I'll be 53 in April, and thank goodness, by the grace of God, I've been given this time to live and go through
Mm.
so many falls and get back up again. And here I am.
Mm-hmm.
So I am done, because
Yes.
I've been through mental illness. I'm, been through the twists and turns of that, and I've come to the other
Mm.
side. Here I am,
Mm-hmm.
in these times, in my 50s, ready to go.
Yes.
Um, and so. Yeah, so I've worked with men as well, but I do specialize a lot with women. But I have to
Mm-hmm.
say, it's so powerful. I feel that I'm doing podcast shows with men, male guests, and I collaborate with men and such. And I just have for years kept seeing myself talking to men in conversations, in interviews, and like
Hmm.
even music industry people, like doing mental health advocacy work.
Hmm.
Um, the men, yeah, they're coming, they're here,
Mm-hmm.
and I've worked with men in mental health recovery who were creatives, performers, and we worked in co-ed space,
Hmm.
um, and I've worked one-on-one too, supporting people to come into their breath, to be able to move in freedom and process their stories, process their
Mm-hmm.
life. And it all comes down to loving yourself. I've
Mm.
worked with men where they're, again, where the hips were caught locked up because of
Right.
sexual trauma, or
Right.
the over indoctrination of being hypersexual, like to an
Mm.
imbalanced place. Yeah, have your passion. Again,
Mm-hmm.
we're talking be an organic sexual being, beautiful,
Of course.
but we're
Yeah.
talking of its distortions.
Mm-hmm.
um, so I, I'm in a process, right? I'm in an evolutionary process right now,
Mm-hmm.
of what I do and what I'm offering. The men are coming. We're going to be doing more dance with the men, but in
Yes.
terms of not just what I do with people directly, but
Mm-hmm.
people out there. Yes, that was your question too. What can
Mm.
people be doing with themselves?
Mm.
you know Connect into your breath, connect into your center, be kind to your body. You're not a machine. All these things we're talking, connect with
Mm.
Mother Earth, honor her, right? The indigenous people are holding that space for all of us. The
Right.
face of nonstop, nonstop, nonstop,
Mm. Yeah.
oppression and devastation, and they're holding the form, yes, for all of us, for
Yeah.
themselves, and we, let's stand up to,
Mm. Mm-hmm.
supporting back, supporting all of it, so this is but that's the feminine, that's
Mm.
Mother Earth, Grandmother Moon, Mother Ocean, however you use those words, the
Right.
mother principle, the mother inside of us. How are we nurturing ourselves?
Mm.
How are we allowing that slowing down? Again, we can talk about the divine masculine because that's the divine father,
Yes.
but the divine mother has been so repressed.
Mm.
Again, we take that inside of ourselves, so we nurture ourselves, we nurture our inner child, and we stand up to being doormats, right? You don't have to be a
Mm.
doormat. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to
Mm-hmm.
exploit your body and manipulate to get attention. You're beautiful. Just be
Mm.
free, you know, and share your beautiful feminine medicine, but with respect for yourself. And, you know, again, this is just a message, take it or leave it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's
Mm-hmm.
where I'm coming from. Um,
Yes.
and, um, and, you know, these are the things as we're nourishing ourselves, you know, these are the things that help to start to bring things into balance, like the addictions, the eating disorders, the body dysmorphia, you know, the human trafficking. Really, like,
Mm.
really,
Mm.
these are human souls, you know, like these
Oh,
are not
yeah.
objects, you know, racism, sexism, ageism, you know, ableism,
Mm-hmm.
homophobia, all of these things, of not seeing the divinity of others and
Mm.
celebrating, you know,
Yes.
and nurturing and affirming and giving space for existence, you know, and not
Mm-hmm.
just not commodification at all.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
so again, it's the healing, because, you know, we have a lot of healing to do of feminine energy. You know, we have to
Right.
heal the victim consciousness as well. You know, the we can be pretty darn scary too,
Yeah,
and abusive, and the
absolutely.
emotional abuse and the emotionalism over. And again, thank goodness, you know, I I know all of these places so well in myself. I have sabotaged
Mm-hmm.
much in my life in this way. And I am grateful to be learning to embody teachings,
Mm.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
and to be finding my own way through my relationship with the divine
Right.
to continue to learn. So it's all very sacred. It's all very
Mm-hmm.
sacred, you know? And
Yes. Yes.
it's like, well, why are we here? Like, let's get to the good stuff. Let's do this hard work to get to
Yeah.
this good stuff. This is the good, yummy,
It's
like,
there.
it's there.
Mm-hmm.
And we
It's
just do the
totally
work to
there.
keep uncovering it. And it's
Yes.
devastating sometimes, you
Mm-hmm.
know. It's
Yep.
hard, but, you know, learn your tools, learn self-care,
Mm.
self-care, self-love, and then embody it and share it out, share that
Yes.
love. But we have to give it to ourselves. So
Yes.
that's that
Yes.
movement from the inside out. That's the divine feminine, inside out. And I just want to say, I know the Christian paradigm is very big. I'm not a Christian in the religion, but I do very much resonate with Christ consciousness. And I'm just going to
Mm.
say this to put it out there, for anybody who just wants, however this falls. You know, we've got the Lord's Prayer, right? Our Father who art in heaven. There's another aspect to that prayer, our Mother
Hmm.
Earth. It's in there. It's in the
Mm-hmm.
Gnostic, I believe. There was another section
Okay.
about the Earth,
Okay.
our mother, and our bodies.
Hmm.
Christ was radical feminist, and he was a man of color too. So, you know, there's a lot in
Right.
that
Yeah.
also. But I'm just saying, because this is all, we're bringing all of this truth forward, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so there is, we just need both,
Mm-hmm.
but the
Mm-hmm.
feminine is really leading the way with our healing.
Okay. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. I again got goosebumps. um it's a lot to take in, but everything is resonating. Everything is really, really like just completely speaking to my heart, to my soul right now. And I know that there will be listeners out there that are definitely going to be absorbing this. I think this is going to be one of those episodes that you need to go back and you need to listen and let it land again because so thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes,
Thank you so much, Morgan.
yes.
That is again your messaging is so powerful and I highly, highly encourage anyone that is listening to this episode to please go and check out your work, check out your website. There's so much information on your website. And like you said, with the social media, it's like trying to get all of that messaging into like a digestible bite-sized little clip, but I believe that you are doing that on your social media, from what I have seen on like your
Thanks for that feedback.
Instagram. Yeah, I think like the little tips and tricks for breath work and all that kind of stuff is so helpful, especially right now, especially in these times right now. I think people really, really need that. So continue to do what you're doing, please, because it's such a powerful message, and I thank you once again for sharing that. So um I want
You.
to I want to get into another question for you, and that is, through all of your work, through everything that you're doing with your dance, with your healing, working with your clients, sharing your messaging, sharing your stories through podcasts. What is it that you wish to cultivate and nourish through your creativity?
Hmm. In the world or in my,
Whatever you want.
okay, to cultivate and nourish through my creativity. Yes. Um, Magic, really embracing and reclaiming the dimension of magic that is creative expression, you know, of creating, of really creating that, or not creating. Yes, I know that was a question I've sat with.
Hmm.
To really kind of connect into that conduit to the divine, you
Hmm.
know? And to create beautiful, nourishing, healing art and expression. Yes, in performance,
Mm-hmm.
in teaching, and to share it for self-healing, but for also creating community and
Mm-hmm.
supporting this creation of a new reality, of a new earth, you know.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
It's a lifeline, creating a bridge.
Beautiful. So beautiful. So wonderful. Your work is so important. It's so important. Thank you.
Thank you.
I wanna give you a virtual hug through the through through the screen right now, because it's just,
I gotcha.
we and this is exactly why I created this platform, is because there's people out there like yourself who are doing this magical work, who are really, working to bring us all back into the divine feminine, back into our love for ourselves. And those voices need to be shared. They absolutely need to be shared with the world. And so, once again, I'm so honored that you're here with me today. And I really, really appreciate you sharing all of your knowledge, all of your experiences. It's so wonderful. It's so wonderful. I can't tell you how grateful I am.
Well, I thank you too, and my absolute pleasure and honor.
Mm,
Really,
thank
I
you.
thank you for creating this opportunity, this platform, and doing the sizable work it takes to do this, and for really just holding it with such a clear heart
Oh,
too,
thank you.
because you
Thank
really
you.
create a safe space, and your energy is really clear,
Oh,
and
thank you.
we can do all the kind of logistics to make things happen, but it's really also we gotta, if to really make that impact, be in our hearts and be in that clear space. So, and you do that, so
Thank
thank you.
you.
you
I
know there
so appreciate that. Thank
Yeah,
you. Thank you very, very much. That was the intention, and I'm so glad that that comes across, and that's just what I always continue to do. So I truly, truly appreciate you saying that. Um, so I have one more kind of chunky question for
Okay.
you, and then I would love to do a lightning round
Okay.
if you're willing to play.
Okay. Get myself revved up here.
So yeah, exactly. Um, so the last question, the last bigger question that I have for you is, what does being a compassionate creative mean to you?
Being a compassionate creative means sharing love, placing love as at the forefront. It means exploring creativity with really with a lot of curiosity and joy,
Hmm.
and really recognizing how what a gift creativity is, creative expression is, and having that um, fill you up, fill me up,
Mm-hmm.
and sharing that love with others.
Wonderful. So beautiful. I love that. Okay. Lightning round.
Okay.
Okay. You're
I'll
ready.
do my best. This Taurus will do her best.
Okay. So, favorite method of self care?
Dancing in nature.
Yes. Oh, love that. Go to activity when you need some creative inspiration.
Dancing in nature.
I love it.
Listening to great music.
Ooh, good one. Good one. Best way to show compassion to strangers.
A true smile.
Mm-hmm. I feel free to express my most authentic self when I.
Well, I'm dancing in nature.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Go to. That's your go to. I love
It
it.
is. It's like
Yeah,
the fairy witch here.
I
What
love
can I
it. I
say?
love it. And finally, self compassion is.
Taking the time to understand what's going on.
Mm. Ah, thank you so much, Morgan. I know I've said it a whole bunch of times, but I'm so 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 grateful to the universe, source, whoever it was that brought us together. I really truly feel like it was completely meant to be, and I don't care if that sounds woo woo because I literally just feel so connected to you. I can't tell you how much you've touched me, how much you truly have done the work of filling me up, and I can't wait to listen to this episode over and over again. Truly, truly, your work is so important, and I once again thank you for being here and for sharing your voice. And please continue to do the work that you are doing. Share the joy, share the love, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here. Thank you so much.
My absolute pleasure and honor, and thank you so much. I feel the same way, and it's,
Yay.
yeah, it's a
Amazing.
true
Thank you.
gift. Yeah.
So wonderful. Thank you. Ah, deep breath.
Journey.
Okay. Oh my gosh, so lovely.
Yeah.
Okay.